Hi and welcome to this week's assembly. An assembly with a slight twist. As you may be aware, this week is Safer Internet Day on Tuesday of this week, and in recognition of that we want to do something slightly different. We do a lot of work via Safer Internet use, digital online citizenship through our Life Skills programme. But I wanted to do an assembly this week for parents and carers to help you understand possibly some of the risks, some of the issues, some of the behaviours of young people online, and really share with you some ideas about how you can support. So particularly today, I thought I'd look at the idea of what we may call kind of sexting or sharing nudes via messages, via pictures, by videos, and really just help us to understand the risks, some of the decisions that our young people take, some of the support that's out there, and what you can do if that does unfortunately occur with your son or your daughter. So what we have for you are 4 very short videos taken from the CEOP and Think You Know websites to help support parents and carers around the idea of sharing nudes online or via messages. They are based around understanding, the process of what the young people might think, your understanding what the situation is, based around supporting you to talk to your child, based on you evaluating the risks and when you should be worried, and what the difference is between normal, healthy behaviour and what is risk-taking behaviour. And ultimately, the final one being how you can get help to support you in managing that, what can be a very, very difficult and emotional and anxious period of time. Now, sexting or sharing nudes is probably something that wasn't part of your life growing up and wasn't part of my life growing up because of technology. However, it is something which is definitely part of your son or daughter's life. And sometimes it's for us to understand what is normal, adolescent developing behaviour, and what is unhealthy behaviour. So the first video we're going to look at is about understanding around the subject.
Hi, I'm Anne. I'm mum to Harry, who's 15, and Lucy, who's 13. When I found out that my baby, Harry, had shared a nude selfie, I was so shocked and horrified. I could have screamed there and then, but I didn't. I called his dad and we screamed amongst ourselves instead. Which, to be honest, was a blessing, because then when we spoke to Harry, I was a lot calmer. I was still angry on the inside, but the initial shock had worn off, so I could talk to him about it. Of course, he was so embarrassed, but once he opened up a bit, what surprised me was that he didn't seem to think it was that big a deal. The impression I got was that it's just a thing that kids do, a part of growing up, a kind of flirting. Sometimes it was just fun, a joke even. Apparently, there are a lot of different reasons that teenagers send these pictures. But I would have thought that if they're sharing nude pictures, it means that they've started having sex, but it doesn't necessarily even mean that. But in my day, my parents were shocked and horrified when I wore a short skirt and too much makeup. Things have moved on, everything happens online now, but maybe kids' motivations haven't changed. I wasn't wearing a short skirt because I wanted to have sex or I wanted to be in a relationship. I did it to feel good about myself, and well, it's a bit like getting a load of likes on your Facebook page. Do you know, one of the most worrying things I heard recently was that my friend's child hadn't gone to her parents for help after a naked picture of her was shared because she didn't think they knew enough about it, or even about the online world to be able to help. I know times have changed, that things are going to be different to when we were young, but teenagers are still teenagers, they're still taking risks, still pushing boundaries, and I can relate to that. It's the fact that so much of this happens online that I knew we needed to be more aware and open about it so that our kids, if they needed to, would come to us for help.
So now hopefully we got a little bit of background. We move on to the second video, which is about how you communicate and talk to your child, because talking early and talking often is a real key weapon, and actually giving your child the self-confidence to say no and make strong decisions comes from those conversations.
So, knowing Harry had shared a nude selfie, his dad and I started to work out the best way to tackle the subject with Lucy. She's only 13, but I felt like we'd let Harry down by not talking to him sooner. And we couldn't just leave it to chance with Lucy. We knew this was going to be an awkward conversation, so We tried to think of ways to start it, ways that wouldn't feel like we were putting her on the spot. And one of her favourite celebrities had recently had some naked pictures shared and it was all over the papers, so, well, we thought that would be a good place to start. I picked a nice quiet time at home and I knew we wouldn't be interrupted, and I asked Lucy why she thought the celebrity might have taken the photo in the first place. Obviously, I had my own opinion, but I wanted to give her the chance to tell me what she thought instead of me just wading in. Lucy said the celeb had sent the pictures to her boyfriend at the time thinking they'd go no further, and what was wrong with that? So I said that relationships can come and go so easily, especially when you're a teenager, that you have to be so careful. She did think it was really wrong of the ex-boyfriend to share it though, and said that if she was the celebrity, she'd feel totally betrayed. I asked her if she knew whether this kind of thing was going on in school, and she told me that she knew of a girl who shared a naked picture with a boy to prove that she loved him. I was pretty shocked, but I had to bite my tongue, because I learned after talking to Harry to listen and try and keep the conversation flowing. So I asked Lucy if she knew whether the girl felt pressured to send the picture. When she said she thought so, I told her that no one should ever feel pressured to do anything they don't feel comfortable doing, particularly not sharing such personal pictures. I was so pleased when she agreed with me and said that if anyone ever pressured her for a picture, she'd tell him where to go. Obviously, Lucy had heard about Harry's situation, and I explained that although the picture hadn't gone any further than his girlfriend, he felt really anxious about it afterwards. It was a heat-of-the-moment decision, but once he'd sent that picture, it was too late to take it back. Do you know, as much as I might want to stop my children sharing pictures like these, I think the don't do it approach would just push them away. I think it's more important that they know that if something goes wrong, they can come to me or the dad for help. But they both know that we feel that sharing a nude selfie is never a good idea and that we have good reason to be worried about it, and not just because it's against the law. And we also told them if they ever shared a naked picture of someone else, we'd be really disappointed in them because that's, well, abusive. And I think they took that on board. Although the first conversation was an awkward one, I'm pleased that we've started it, and I feel more confident that it can be an ongoing conversation that we can all have together.
The third video is really helping you to understand when you should be worried, okay, and when those risks have been considered. And we have thought about, what happens if the child loses control of that image? What happens when things go wrong with a trusted friend or someone I'm in a relationship with? What if those images are shared unwillingly or unknowingly? And this third video will help you just to understand that part.
When it comes to kids being at risk from sharing nude selfies, I think a question most of us parents would like to be able to answer is, when should I really be worried? As it turned out, the risks weren't ever too great for Harry. We were lucky. He was sharing nude photos with his girlfriend, who then broke up with him a week later. Well, not unusual for teenagers, I guess, but what really freaked him out was knowing that she still had the pictures and that other people might end up seeing them. He was quite anxious about this for a while, but thankfully, after talking to his ex, they both agreed to delete the photos, and as far as we know, that's that. It does seem, though, after having spoken to other parents and reading people's stories online, that there are situations where kids might be more at risk, well, for lots of different reasons. I mean, I'd be really worried if I thought my child was feeling under pressure to share nude pictures with anyone, whether it's the boyfriend, girlfriend, a bully, whoever. Or if I found out that someone, either another child or an adult, was sharing nude pictures of kids online. Another worrying thing I came across was kids obsessing about their pictures, posting more than you'd expect or photoshopping them first. I know that for teens, getting approval from friends is a big thing when they share selfies, whether they're nude or not. I don't think this is anything new, but it can get out of control, sometimes because of low self-esteem, and this can really put kids at risk. A big warning sign for me would be if they're sharing their naked pictures on sites where anyone could see them. Some of the scariest things I've come across have been news stories about kids chatting to strangers online and being tricked into taking their clothes off on webcam and then being blackmailed with the video. Really horrible stuff. It's just so important to make sure that your children know they should be really, really careful when they're chatting online. Thankfully, most of us haven't had to deal with the worst case scenarios. From what Harry's school tells me, most of the time things don't get hugely out of hand. But in any case, I think it's always worth understanding why kids are sharing naked pictures, even if it's just down to them being curious, experimenting or trying to fit in, which I'd say is a fairly normal part of growing up. I suppose much like being curious about sex. it's all part and parcel. I think it's important to remember that us parents know our kids best, and if we think they're not themselves or seem a bit low, we should just trust our instincts and talk to them. From my experience, talking to my kids about nude selfies has changed my relationship with them for the better, and I feel confident we could tackle anything together if we needed to.
The fourth and final short video is about the help that you can get, and it details a lot of the help which you can access us here at The Edge for, but there are other websites out there, internetmatters.org, Think You Know, the eSafety kind of commissioner. There's lots of websites out there that you can access support, including our own website at The Edge Academy. There is a whole section on safeguarding with a parent's guide to digital online use. Please make use of those. So here's the last video to help kind of fulfill this whole picture that we've got.
After Harry shared some nude selfies with a girl from school, he was really anxious about what might happen to them. So to try and ease his worry, we looked at what we could do if any pictures did get out. The first thing I did was contact his school for advice, and it was obvious from their reaction that they'd dealt with this kind of thing before. They asked how far the pictures had been shared, so I explained Harry's situation. They were really helpful, and they told me that if the pictures were shared in school, they would ask the person who shared them to remove them from any sites that they'd uploaded them to. But Harry said that he'd rather speak to his ex-girlfriend himself first. They reassured us that they'd be keeping a watchful eye on him, and they encouraged us to give him plenty of support at home as well. They also told me about the Think You Know site, so we had a look and found out much more about what to do if things were to get out of hand. Harry's biggest fear was his nude selfie turning up online. Most major websites have a way to report this kind of thing. They have to take the pictures down because essentially they're illegal. We were also reassured to read that even if his pictures appeared on a site with no way to report them, that Childline could help. They work with the Internet Watch Foundation, who can get the pictures removed. On the other end of the scale, we read that if anyone was to pressure or threaten our kids to share these kind of images online, and if there's any hint that it might be sexual exploitation or abuse, then CEOP can help protect them. It's a scary thought, but it's good to know. I feel really reassured that there are ways to reduce the spread of these images, and there is a network of support out there to help you, if you need it.
So they're the four short videos that I wanted to share with you to help us understand this kind of behaviour that we see in our young people, that really to help you to make decisions about what steps can I take if my child has shared a nude or has been involved in sexting, as us older people probably would call it. Again, I refer you back to the facilities that we've got here at The Edge in terms of our website, in terms of the expertise we have on the Safeguard team. Any issues that you have, we're always willing to support either yourself or by talking to the young person in school if that's what you'd like us to do. As we approach half term, my last message really is just remember that any issues around safeguarding, any support that we can be, we are available. There is a 24/7 manned email address, which is safeguarding@theedgeacademy.co.uk. That is monitored and we will get in touch with you. Or you can get in touch via any of our social media platforms: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook or Snapchat. Thank you.